Today I have Mary Kay Savarese. She's the author of the book Tigers Love Bubble Bath and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? And Mary, I'm super happy to have you here today.
Oh, I am so glad to be here with you and your audience today, Lucia. It's truly a pleasure.
So, Mary, how did you come up with the idea of writing a book with this title?
Lucia, I love to work with quirky titles. And several years ago, I had the pleasure of visiting a wildlife reserve in St. Augustine, Florida. And part of the tour was, it is a home, an old folks home per se, for big cats. Cats such as lions and cougars, jaguars and tigers. And by old folks home, I mean, these are big cats, not little cats, big cats that were tossed aside from TV shows, movies. People even had them as pets, and they're brought to this wildlife reserve. So at the end of the tour, I come up to this big vat, 15 feet wide by 5 feet high, overflowing with bubbles. And I said to myself, is the wildlife handler, going to jump into the bubbles? And I am 4 feet away from this behind a thin wire screen. And out walks this incredible creature, a 600-pound Siberian tiger, walks across the plank, looks as though he's taking off a robe, and slips into these bubbles. And then the tiger opens his mouth like he's ready for a cocktail, and the wildlife handler sprays Obsession perfume. And Lucia, I stood there in such awe at this magnificence, because this is a wild creature. You don't expect it to be human, to be floating around and licking Obsession perfume and licking the bubbles. And I said to myself, tigers love bubble baths and Obsession perfume. Who knew? That's going to be the title of my next novel, which is a mystery romance with a supernatural or spiritual twist to it.
Wow, I've never heard about it before, only when you told me on the Relatable Voice podcast. And Mary, what else you learned about big cats?
Well, I learned very much that these tigers are held more in captivity than in the wild. And last year during COVID, there was very much a series on Netflix called The Tiger King that brought the attention of tigers to not only residents of the United States, but to the world. And people, activists, started to take notice, and they really wanted to help these tigers in captivity. And the fact also that people could not have them as pets. Can you imagine trying to have a tiger as a pet until it wants to cut your neck off? Because it is a creature.
Exactly, it's impossible. And Mary, this book is fiction, murder, mystery, romance. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I know that the main character is Angie, and I am very curious to know, what is this book about?
Well, the title became very much a metaphor for me. And as these big cats are tossed aside, so is my protagonist, Angie Pantera. She's a middle-aged woman, ready to celebrate with the love of her life, her husband that she met in college. They're ready to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. And he tosses her aside for a younger version. So so of course she's so deeply hurt. She becomes very depressed. She loses her job. And one day she just finally says, I've got to start anew, just like these tigers have a chance in the bubble bath to start anew. She begins anew with the wish, and it brings her to Birdsong, Maine. And she begins a new life. But guess what? Starting over can be murder. And our poor protagonist, Angie Pantera, is faced not with just one murder, but one murder after another.
Wow. If you can describe your character, Angie, in 3 words, what would these 3 words be?
The 3 words would be beautiful, smart, and willing to jump into a new life, but with consequences and baggage.
Angie has flaws.
Yes, as we all do. And flaws are wonderful, especially in a character, because it brings out the humanity in each one of us, and it brings you into conflict, and it brings you into different scenarios of life. And so things that Angie has to deal with her own flaws, and she has to come to terms with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And out of curiosity, Mary, do you have something in common with Angie?
Well, one of the things that inspired me to write about this romance mystery with the supernatural twist was, again, I was inspired by seeing the tiger. I was also inspired by a very dear friend of mine who went through a similar situation in her life. And she was tossed aside after 20 years of marriage. So the book is not about her. She's given me her blessing, but that was also very much the inspiration for me to write that.
You are writing a trilogy, and the book is called The Girl in Toilet Wallpaper. Is correct? Am I saying?
Yes, yes. I have written my next novel. It is a fantasy adventure trilogy titled The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. And as I said, I love to write with quirky titles. Now, what is toile? Your audience knows toile already. You see it as fabric and wall covering, and it's artistic and it's two-toned. And I have a sample here. It tells a story.
Okay.
So if you can see, pretty much it tells you a story. And I was inspired by that. Within the toiles in my home, I formed my protagonist and my antagonist because I saw love and betrayal. And then I saw the antagonist and the assistant, and I formed a story around that, a fantasy adventure trilogy. And this is the first of the trilogy, and it is currently in the copy editing phase right now, and it will be published this summer in August by Indigner House Publishing.
Okay, so you have to come back to talk more about this.
Oh, I would love to.
And just out of curiosity, The Girl in Toilet Wallpaper, is it a fantasy? It's like a fantasy adventure, or is another genre?
No, it is a fantasy adventure. I take the reader from reality to fantasy. And the novel spans generations. So it's a coming of age love story. It's a 20-something beginning love story. It's a 30-something love story, a woman that hasn't had love in her life. And unfortunately, it's the end of a marriage as well. So it spans 2 generations. So it's very much, it can go from young adults to older.
Okay, it's interesting. And where is this story setting?
Oh, you're going to love this. It begins in Massachusetts, and it goes to Florence, Italy, and Siena, Italy.
I love
Yes.
this place.
A beautiful setting for love stories, as we know, because the city of Florence is love.
It is. I love it. Actually, Florence is my favorite city in
Yes,
Italy.
mine too. And that's why I chose to write around Florence after I visited. Again, as writers, we become inspired by what we see and take it from there.
Mhm. And back to Tigers Love Bubble Baths
Yes.
and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? I want to know if you always liked cats and if you
Oh.
have a cat, because
I love, yes, I see. I am a big cat lover. And I share a cat with my daughter because I have allergies to cats, unfortunately. But I am such a cat lover. Yes. My favorite animal, big or small, are cats.
They are adorable.
Yes.
Adorable. And you are teaming up with a project. I
Yes.
believe you are doing something related to promoting
Yes.
adoption.
Adopt a Cat Foundation. So once the book is published, I am teaming up in Florida with a local cat shelter. They've recently moved, and what we are going to do is I'm going to do giveaways of my book. They're going to name new kittens coming in for adoption after characters in The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. And we're going to approach TV and radio and print and see if it can help promote this Adopt a Cat Foundation. It's going to be fun.
This is beautiful, Mary.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's going to be fun.
Also, exactly. And Mary, one question for you is, what comes first for you, plot or characters? I have the feeling that the plot comes first for you.
Well, the title of the book comes first for me. Once I have the title, I have a general idea of a plot, and then I delve into the characters and I create them. I become the characters, because then what motivates them? What makes them work? Where can I take them from with all their flaws? And as you know, like the red herrings and everything else, how can we use our characters?
And I don't know if it happens to you, but when someone does something to my main character, I get angry.
Yes.
I get very angry. So it's very important that we authors, the characters can be a piece of us as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you know you've done your job when you've affected your readers to such a degree that they are upset with what happens to the character. And that's what you strive for. You want to make them real, as you said, with flaws and dreams and hopes. And, you know, you want them to have happiness too. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Did you always want to be a writer?
Somewhere, Lucia, in the back of my mind, I worked in finance, I raised 3 children, and I always had these like fantasy writing ideas. And I said someday I was going to plan to put them to pen and paper. And what happened was, as my teenagers went off to college, I decided to start doing that. And that was, Lucia, that was 10 years plus ago that I began that, but I loved it so much. And my goal was to be a traditionally published author. 10 years ago, we didn't have as much as we have today, where it's easier to have a hybrid publishing or be self-published. 10 years ago, it was still very much traditional publishing, and I strived for it. And it took me 10 years, and that was my 4th manuscript, Tigers Love Bubble Bats and Obsession Perfume, that did get noticed by Kohler Publishing. And then they moved pretty quickly.
Wow, congratulations. This is not easy. And I'm happy that you didn't give up. Yeah.
Well, that's what I would like to say to your audience is never, ever give up on yourself. If you have a dream and a goal, I can guarantee you, if you stick to it and it gives you joy in your heart, it's a part of you, your dream will come true.
Yeah, this was beautifully said. And Mary, what's next for you? What else you are planning to do?
Well, as I said, I am finishing up the other 2 books in the trilogy. So they will be published 1 year apart from each other. And I'm reaching out to book groups, because also with COVID, very much, we were able to utilize this wonderful technology, Zoom and Skype. And if you have a book group and you want to read my book, please invite me, because I would love to be there with you and do giveaways. We share little Prosecco online, and it's a good, wonderful time. So I'm reaching out to your audience, and they can contact me through my author website, www.Mary, MaryKSavarese.com, and my my email's there, and they can reach me that way.
Excellent. And Mary, can I see your book cover more close,
yes,
please?
Yes. So this is, and it's behind me as well. Tigers Love Bubble Bats and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? And I'm very humbled and just so honored, because Tigers has garnered so many awards for debut author, for small press, for fiction, for supernatural fiction, and it's won many, many awards and international awards, such as Eric Hoffer and the Royal Award. So
amazing, Mary.
Oh.
Because you never gave up and you kept trying, and now I believe you'll be a full-time writer.
Yes, full-time. As authors, we have to write, keep writing. It's part of our lives if we love it, and we have to keep marketing ourselves and moving forward with new projects. But it's all fun, it's all challenging, and it gives you a reason, a purpose in life to wake up every day. Yes. And enjoy life.
Yes, I agree with you. So, Mary, it was a pleasure to talk to you again. Please come again. Come.
Oh, I would absolutely love that. That would be wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you too.